celebrating the power of possibility.
I'm Bill Haslam, and I believe anything is possible.
Welcome to Anything is Possible. My guest is Bill Haslam. Bill, let me say to you something. First of all, I love and appreciate you because I've had the opportunity to call you my mayor, my governor. You did the crossover on me on being able to call you my senator and my president. But I guess the best thing that I've been able to call you all these years is my friend. Welcome to Anything is Possible.
Well, thanks. It's a privilege to be your friend, but it's also, I want to congratulate you. This is cool how long this has been going on. I think you started this back when I was in middle school.
It must have been. You know, these are great stories about great people whose lives prove that anything is possible. I am a firm believer that the world moves forward through possibility people. The word possible means able to be. The people who wake up and go, we could do this. They could imagine something happening better than what it is, as opposed to just giving you a technicolor vision of the problem, not the solution.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, as we kind of fight this global pandemic, I think you and I would both agree there's an epidemic of cynicism. And that cynicism, I think, is what wears on all of us. And unfortunately, in today's social media-driven world, cynicism is easier than it's ever been to spread. So those people who wake up thinking, well, what can I actually do to change this, to me are the breath of fresh air.
That was the thing that amazed me about you. Amazing thing about you, number one, is we have never had a conversation about money or wealth. And I've known you at least a quarter century, right? However, today I looked up your net worth in Forbes and I thought to myself, why don't you ever talk about it and why doesn't that matter? You're number 1,335 on the Forbes list as of this morning, they said.
You know, I can't explain why God decided to trust me and our family with the amount of assets that he has. I mean, I can say, well, I mean, I can tell you the story. My dad started with one little gas station that he borrowed every penny he could. And, you know, from there, kind of the American dream took over. And I were able to build a great company, you know, spread across the country. I can tell you the story of how that happened. I just can't really tell you why it happened. I can't tell you why, like I said, that I have the privilege and responsibility of stewarding these assets, but I think it's really important. And you know, when the Bible says it's harder for a rich man to go to enter the kingdom of heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle, it's because money has this horrible tendency to make you think you're something special. And when you have assets, everybody treats you that way, right? But people come to see you and they because they'd love you to either invest in their business or donate to their philanthropic cause or help, whatever it is, people just treat you special. And, you know, for more people than not, having money ends up being a bad thing because it has as many destroying characteristics as it does beneficial ones.
How have you been able to, first of all, do you know your net worth?
I don't. I couldn't tell you, and because I hate to say, I know it sounds flippant, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, at the end of the day, it's and I know that's a luxury to be able to say that. That's, I mean, like if you're trying to figure out how to make your mortgage payment, you don't have that luxury, and I get it. I really do, but it also becomes about this sense. I mean, if you really think the cattle on 1,000 hills are his, then the money in your bank account is his too. And so it's more a question of how do you be thoughtful and responsible with this?
See, that's where I wanted to dig in today. Do you know that you're a billionaire?
Well, I don't. I read that, okay? I hate to say it, I read that, but it's If I was or wasn't, again, it doesn't drive or mean anything.
I want to know how you got there. There being, you know what, this is God's, this is not mine.
Yeah.
And I literally cannot measure or evaluate my worth based on my net worth.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a break, and when we come back, I would really love to know, Bill, how you got there, because that to me is an amazing possibility. You can do well and do good. Bill Haslam is my guest. You're watching Anything is Possible. More in a moment.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
When I was governor, I saw so many other governors who spent their whole time as governor trying to line up to run for president. I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be the person focused on the next thing.
So I was trying to suss out how you got to that kind of settled, I call hope really a settled sense of God's sufficiency, right? Just this, it is well with my soul. And I believe you. What I mean by that is when you say, Hallerin, it's not about the money. It's really not. I would love to know the journey to there.
Let me start by saying again, it really is a gift. Christy and I talk about this. Marriage is easier when you don't have to worry about how we're going to make the money work, right? I mean, money causes a lot of stress, and I don't take for granted at all that we don't have to wrestle with that piece of stress. We have others, but not that piece. But I think it's a little bit, Paul talks about, for it's by grace you've been saved, not that of works, that no one should boast. And I think when you start thinking, I have something to boast about or to feel special about, then it's a dead end. And I know way more people with money that it is led their life to be less fulfilling than more fulfilling. Who ended up not doing the job that maybe they were, having the vocation that they were created to have because they thought, I can't do that because I have these assets over here, or have ended up, like I said, wrecking their life because enough people treat you as special, then you start thinking you're special, and then you do something stupid.
Is there a spiritual practice that keeps you there? Was there something catalytic in your life that made you go, I'm not going to buy the hype?
Well, it's...
Is there something you do on a daily basis?
I think for me, every day, hopefully, except those days when I sleep longer than I meant, starts with prayer and Bible study. And you can't read the Bible and not come away with this sense of God throws a lot of cautions toward wealthy people, and He puts a lot of emphasis on poor people. And so this kind of mixed up economy, I think when you read the Bible, helps you realize, be careful, rich people, because that He uses that language several times.
So let's talk about leadership, and let's talk about some decisions you've made. You become mayor of the city. I was always blown away by the fact that you loved the job because you love people.
Right.
You become governor of the state of Tennessee, and you put up some great numbers, but you loved the job because you love people. And I thought, okay, he's going to be senator and then he's going to be president, or skip senator and be president. And I know that bubbled around. Why didn't you?
A couple things. All political jobs are not the same. So I love being a mayor. I love being in my hometown. You can literally wrap your arms around it. You can walk out of your office and walk down through Market Square, or drive out and be in North Knoxville East, wherever. You can be in the middle of it, of your own hometown. And it's hard to overstate how much difference it makes being in political office, the leverage that you can have to make things happen, whether it's hopefully revitalizing downtown or putting a free community college program in for everybody in the state. And so I loved the people part of it, and I loved the mission part of it. I tell people all the time that the thing that surprised me about being mayor is I thought I'd be like the CEO of the city. It felt more like being the senior pastor of the city. Not in the sense of I was going to give sermons in Market Square, but in the sense of this is just a great way to serve and to the impact you can have on the quality of people's lives was way bigger than I thought it would be.
So why not be president?
You know, a couple things. I think this, when I was governor, I saw so many other governors who spent their whole time as governor trying to line up to run for president. I can tell you 16 people that of the governors I served with, probably more, if you count Republicans and Democrats, who spent their whole time as governor saying, how do I line things up so that I can be president? And I realized you're wasting your time as governor. You know, you're not getting nearly as much done as you could because you're lining up for the next thing. That's true in other places in life too, by the way. And so I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be the person focused on the next thing, number one. And then number two, I saw, you know, it's the ball takes pretty funny bounces in that. I mean, if you look at all those people who thought they were going to run in 2016, the Republican primary, there were 18 people or however many, and none of them saw Donald Trump coming, right? Or neither did the rest of the world. So I just think it's a bad thing to plan your life around. And the final thing is to do it, you've got to really, really want it, almost to the exclusion of anything else. And my heart just, you know, to this point never has gotten there.
Why'd you write this book?
Well, I wrote Faithful Presence because I became convinced that people of faith weren't playing the right role in the public square. You know, we have a country that's at each other's throat right now. That's no secret, right? We're divided. We're pretty evenly divided. And we're not just divided, but we're mad at the other side. And we're not just mad, but we're contemptuous of the other side. And I have a friend who's a marriage counselor. He says, when people come in to see me, I cannot feel like I can solve any problem except when there's contempt, when one's rolling their eyes at the other. And that's how we are. We're at each other's throats. We're mad about it. We think the other side has bad motives. And so the question is, what are we going to do about it? Because, you know, with the world we're in today, social media driven, you get to choose your own news. You can choose who you hear, and we all want to hear people who think like us. So we listen to that, and that confirms what we already think, and then we think even more the other side's crazy. Like, what role can people of faith be in solving that? You know, when Paul says we're supposed to be salt and light, it's, you know, it says if the meat's bad, you don't blame the meat, you blame the salt for not doing their job. And so as people of faith, what's our role in that?
What is our role?
Well, I think it's this. The first thing is this, is one of the core things about being a person of faith is this idea that we're not perfect, that we're broken, or we're sinful would be the actual words, you know, we're all like sheep that have wandered off. Okay, well, if that's true, then we have to realize that we could be wrong. Okay, my political mentor, Howard Baker, used to always say, always remember the other fella might be right in these discussions. And so we should enter into these discussions with the right kind of wisdom. And James says, you know, wisdom that's from above it's first pure, it's peaceable, it's gentle, it's open to reason, it's impartial and sincere. Now, if I asked you to describe what Christians are like in the public square, would you say they're open to reason, they're impartial, and they're sincere, and they're pure, and they're peaceable, and they're gentle? Most people would say no. And so if we're not, then we got to say we're not really approaching this thing in the right way.
How were you able to pull that off? Because when you get in the space, these forces that are colliding with each other, if you're in the middle, you're getting hit from both sides.
You are. And so, but this isn't a plea to be in the middle, okay? It's not that. There is a mushiness in the middle, but it is a plea to realize that we know we're capable of being wrong, right? I mean, I've been wrong 10 times today, and it's, you know, not even 8:30. So to enter with that kind of humility. And I think the one thing that should mark the lives of believers in the public square and anywhere else is humility. You know, for God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And when we find ourselves in place and we've totally lost humility, then we can be pretty sure we're in the wrong place.
That's one of the things that amazes me is that you're quoting scripture, right? But you are in the marketplace, right? And watching you through the years kind of pull that off has been amazing. What's amazing to me in this interview, though, other than the ones we've done before, is this, Bill. The fact that you believe that it's possible to be that way in this world in a hyper-partisan context. Yeah. You led a state, you led a city, and we flourished. We did well by the grace of God, but that's proof of concept. Let's take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about what you've learned about life, love, and leadership. You're watching Anything is Possible. Let's make sure we take a minute to talk about your family, though, because I know family life is important to you. You are a granddad.
10 times.
10 times. All right, here's your challenge. Name them all.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. My son Will has Wyatt, and his wife Hannah have Wyatt, Josie, and Ellie. My daughter Annie and her husband David have Will, Ruby, and Davy. And my daughter Lee and her husband Matt have Kess, Hayes, Field, and Hutch. Touchdown.
Now watch this, because I'll give you a chance to pivot. Who's your favorite?
Oh, man. Careful. Probably one of them might watch.
This will prove I'm not a politician. Right now, you will be watching.
Yeah, right, I am now. I'm not about to go down that one. They're all perfect and,
In their own unique way.
Exactly.
What have you learned about love?
Through being a parent and grandparent? Or?
And a husband and a leader.
I think it's this, that real love does involve self-sacrifice. You get it back in spades, okay? But at the end of the day, it's real love means less of what I want, more of what you want. And, I think back to the things I've learned from being a husband where, believe me, I've gotten a whole lot better, but I'm still not great. But that whole sense of, it's not what I want here, but it's what you want. It's what, and as a parent, you learn that really quick. You see so much how your joy is wrapped up in where their joy is, and part of that means kind of losing some of yourself.
Right.
But, the best thing about, I have a friend who was he was a college place kicker, kicked in the NFL, and his wife said, I watched him kick in the SEC for 4 years, pro kicker for 12 years. I'd watch him make really big game-winning field goals and occasionally miss them. And either way, when it was over, he would just trot off the field the exact same way, whether he won the game, in the national conference championship or he missed it. And then when he was coaching one of his kids the first time, and his son caught like a pass in the eight and under football thing, and he was the coach. He goes running down the field, windmilling the whole way. I mean, and she's like, that's the joy that you get from loving other people.
What have you learned about leadership?
That again, leadership it's about, at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. And the hard part is knowing how long to listen and then when it's time to lead. And
how do you know?
Well, for me, that you talked about data, I love data. Data tells you, the facts rather than just, where the wind might be blowing. So part of it's that. I think the other thing is it involves having smart people around you. And what I loved most about being governor or mayor is sitting around a table, talking with people, and working through hard decisions and realizing that the best answer probably wasn't the one that I came in with, but the one we came out with as a result of this conversation was always better.
What's the one thing you want people to know after they see this interview and after they read your book?
Well, I really want them to know that, particularly, the point of the book is this: it does matter who we elect and who serves, and there's a tendency for all of us just to look at politics and go, ugh. A pox on both of their houses. I'm tired of both sides. But it matters too much for that. And so we have to enter into the public arena, again, with this spirit of humility, but with an idea that this is a way to serve. And we need to have a theology, if you will, of our politics and how we do that. And we focus a lot on certain issues that we think are important as believers. We haven't focused on how we enter into that public arena.
Will you run for president of the United States?
I honestly don't think so. I don't have any plans to do that, but I never ever thought I would run for mayor or governor, so I've learned to never fully close any doors. But I do think it's important, and I really care that the right people get elected and people who are doing it for the right reasons instead of they just want to play that role on TV.
If you knew a guy by the name of Big Jim Haslam was watching this, what would you say to him and about him?
I'd say thank you. I honestly think that I'm sure other people think they do, but I know I have the best dad ever, and he has truly modeled out what it looks like to live a life about others. And people kind of have this image of Dad as Big Jim, and he's here to control everything, which is just not true at all. The truth is, he's the ultimate team player. He really, really does care about the team, and sometimes to a fault. I've seen him stick with the somebody or some situation longer than maybe he should, just because he is so committed to doing what's the best for kind of the people around him.
Well, I want to say to you, you represent a person of great possibility to me. Please keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for being you, and thanks for being my friend, and thanks for being a perfect representative of possibility all these years.
Well, save me 10 seconds to tell you that as somebody that's been a mayor and a governor, you truly have made this community a much, much better place with the way you've done things. I don't think people realize the difference it's made to have you as in our voices.
Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time on Anything is Possible.